Hi everyone, it's Charles at Empress Mills and I'm delighted to be here with the very latest arrivals from Lewis Irene, a collection called Memory Made. It's actually an unusual collection for Lewis Irene. Usually it is the Lewis Irene design team directly who create all of their collections, but this range is one of the very few collaborations they have done with an outside designer, and in Memory Made's case, the outside designer is Cassandra Connolly. Cassandra, if you haven't seen her designs before or heard of her, she has been designing for quite a while now. She did some collaborations with Lewis Irene last year. I think last year was the first year that she collaborated with L&I. And she's a UK-based surface pattern designer who, in particular, if you head onto her website, she in particular likes to work with, she describes it as sophisticated colour palettes, and looking at this collection, you can see what she means by that. Some sort of very subtle tones. She picks out some very fashionable colours in things like the ochre, but despite the use of these subtle tones, she still manages, as you'll see with the designs as we look at them in more detail, to give quite a vivid impression of the designs themselves. Vivid wrong, striking is a much better word. It's not super vibrant and bright and in your face, but the designs are striking and very, very detailed, which is again something that we'll look into in a moment when we explore the designs further. So yes, that's just a little bit about the background of the range. As always with Lewis Irene Fabrics, there are 15 prints in the collection. Cassandra's worked to the usual sort of Lewis Irene set when she's created the collection. So there's 15 designs as usual. Yes, let's take a look at the designs. So this one, we've got this, and all of the range is inspired, and I'll read the words directly, then I get it right. It's inspired by Cassandra's granny's sewing box, and that sort of feeling of nostalgia that she had, sort of thinking back and thinking about that sewing box and the different things and emotions that it brought to mind. So let's take a bit more of a closer look. As always, as I mentioned, should I say, lots of detail, lots of nice floral detail on the designs, and picking out sort of needles and pins packed with different notions, as you would expect looking in a sewing box. It's a really, really pretty design, and sort of picking up on the heart shapes and these nice florals, all intermixing with sewing notions along the way. That design comes in 3 colourways. So we've got the initial one, this, if I get it the right way around, or Nat behind the camera will be shouting at me no doubt. Again, a lot of trouble. We've got that one, which is sort of a rich, rusty background sort of shade to it. But again, it's still picking up on all the details, you know, as I mentioned, the florals before, but also the detail of the thread itself, even onto the little designs on the thread card as well. Really, really sort of keen on that detail and just those extra little bits and bobs that make all the difference. And then lastly in that design, we've got this colourway, which is my particular favourite because to me, it just makes the scissors in particular pop. And it's those classic, I don't know if I'm going to get done for some sort of copyright infringement by saying this, but it's the classic sort of Stork scissor look, let's say, that she's picked up on with the scissors. And to me, that colourway, they just stand out a real treat. It's nice, very, very pretty design. Very, very pretty. That's that one. This next design is just packed full of notions. Great for all sorts of projects. Whenever we get a collection in that features different sewing notions and things, it's always popular, and I'm sure this will be the same for the same reason. Picking up absolutely masses of the classic things we expect to see in a sewing box. So we've got the bobbins of thread, we've got scissors, we've got, let me see if we can get all this on for you. Let's have a little peek. We've got the different bobbins of thread, buttons, machine bobbins, another button, thimbles, pins, needles, a needle threader, absolutely all sorts. And the design is just jam-packed with that, but it's not overbearing, it's not overwhelming. You're just getting all the different bits and bobs on there. And as before, in the other 2 colourways as well. So we've got that lovely rich ochre, very, very popular at the moment. Anything in ochre is hugely popular at the moment. So we've got the rich ochre, and then this, which I'm curious to know what they've actually called this shade. It's almost a grey blue sort of colour. But again, brilliant use of colour, mixing that with the different pinks on the notions, just to make it pop. And let me just find the actual colour name for that. 17-2. Excuse me while I just refer to my homework. Light slate grey, which I think is a very, very good description for that background colour. Yes, very, very pretty. On to another one. When Cassandra was writing about the range, she mentioned that the sewing box wasn't just full of things for pure sewing, but also knitting and crochet, as you would expect in a general sort of sewing box. And that is what this next design in another 3 shades really picks up on. And you've got the bobbins of wool, dearie me, we're getting in trouble, balls of wool, and different bits of knitting and absolutely all sorts, just there. And there we go, so they're the balls of wool, and it's also got the knitting needles on, knitting pins. I'm sure I'll be getting told off for calling them knitting needles, I know. And again, we've got that in the creamier colour background, and then back to this. I'm going to get the colour name, and then I'm not getting... Dark rust, so look at that. I didn't even read that first, and I was calling it rich rust. So yes, so this dark rust, rich, rusty colour background, which also featured on one of those previous designs as well. But lovely, a really, really nice collection. Perfect for all sorts of uses. I mean, Cassandra and Lewis and Irene, well, Cassandra when working with Lewis and Irene in general, always design their cotton ranges with quilting in mind. That's always sort of the principal thing that designers have in mind. And I'm 99.9% sure that is what they will have asked Cassandra to work to when creating the range. But these fabrics, they are super quality, 100% cotton. I've spoken about Lewis and Irene fabrics before, so I don't want to bore you, but it really is a premium grade A cotton fabric that Lewis and Irene insist that their designs are printed on. So it's the premium quality cotton, and they are perfect for absolutely all sorts of projects. Yes, quilting, but bag making, dresses, things along those sort of lines, shirts, absolutely, cushions, honestly, absolutely all sorts can be made with these fabrics. Moving very, very briefly on, just to the last few designs, the prints we've looked at so far are very much the key designs in the range, the main designs. We've actually put these on one side because these are the blenders to the collection, and I'll just quickly show you. I'm very conscious of not boring you with things, although I suspect you like fabrics as much as me, so we'll be okay, I'm sure. That is just just picking up on lots of buttons and bows. Again, just all the notions you expect in a sewing box. Or a jar, it would be in our house from my grandma, to be quite honest. It wouldn't be loose in the sewing box, it would be in a jar for sure. We've got that one in the slate grey. That's a lovely shade, is that? I've changed my mind on my original suggestions on shades. And this in sort of a very, very light, it's a very, very light sort of beige. Let me get the colour name again for you. Let me pick it. 19-1. Let me refer to my home. Taupe. Yes, so it's very sort of light taupe, beige shade with the buttons on top. Again, all coordinating perfectly. And then finally, the pins and needles, which this design, although in the blender range, really, the blender sort of section of this range, will undoubtedly be one of the popular fabrics. It really, really will. Look at this, we've got a loose thread just to tease me as we're working with the cameras here. So yes, it's just such a good all-rounder, a nice small print, not a huge print at all, and will just work for so many different projects. I'm sure you've got more in mind than me, but I am certain that will be one of the favourites. And we've got that, yes, in that shade, in the taupe, and this picks up a lovely gold on the pins and the pins themselves. We just see if we can get that, and then we're picking up on that gold shade, because they really work together, and that really shows off how Cassandra's sort of working with the different colours, that had potential just to sort of blend into the background, but it doesn't. It just stands out enough to give the design some clarity. And that one, I'm disappearing behind fabrics here, and finally this is almost the reverse of that previous design, with the gold background now and the pins picked out in a white. But again, a lovely, lovely fabric. All of Lewis and Irene's fabrics, as I mentioned, 100% cotton, but they are 44 inches wide, as you would expect from a quilting design, so 110 centimetres. They are washable at 30 degrees, they wash absolutely fine. That is no problem. I'm destroying everything. That is no problem at all. And as I say, they work right across the board with lots of different projects. And just to give you a look at the fabric weight itself, it is a standard quilting weight fabric. Let me open this one up. Just get a little bit more off the bolt. It's a standard quilting weight fabric. Lovely and soft, very, very smooth, as you can see. Just to pick up on the sort of feel of the fabric there. There we go. So yes, a lovely weight. As always with the Lewis and Irene designs, we've got the fat quarter packs. I won't go into masses of detail, but if you've heard me talk about Lewis and Irene ranges before, the team always put together a set of specially curated packs. That is what we've got here. They are all on the website for you to view, and the designs there are all designed specifically to work together, to blend well, but not become monotonous. It's always something that Lewis and Irene stress with these. Yes, the colours work together, but they are different. They do, you know, there is the odd unusual mix. That is an absolutely prime one, for example, where you've got a slate grey mixed with a rich rust colour and an ochre, a taupe, but it works. It really does work together as a wonderful fat quarter pack, and the others are the same. And then we also have the full fat quarter pack. But look, you'll find all that online. The main thing that we really wanted to show you today was the designs, and I hope we have done just that. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. As always, you know what I'm going to say probably. If I can be of any help at all, please don't hesitate to, you can leave a comment underneath the video, you can telephone us, or of course email. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and see you again soon. Bye bye.